I did a lot of things really poorly building a company. I did some things okay, and I did some things well, right? In kind of reflecting on all of the things. And I think going community first was a big win.
You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews with founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started.
No. Breaking news.
So for This Week in No Code, we announced that the gang over at NoCode Operators was acquired by Zapier. And at the time, we couldn't get you that interviews. But don't worry, because we have that exclusive interview for today. David, what do you have to say about it? All right, there it is. Let's get on the show, Mr. Lakin, to talk about his journey of being acquired.
Good to be back.
So we interviewed you, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, and you were in the midst of it. And now here you are back on This Week in No Code plus AI, the first returning guest that we have.
Yeah.
Mr. Lackin, how are you?
Doing all right, man. Having
just all right. It must be a
just
great
all
week.
Right. You spent 3 years. You finally get that acquisition. We would love to know more about it. First off, 3 years in acquisition, that's quick, and all things considered. But congrats.
Thanks, y'all. And thanks for being a part of the journey. And I know we've all been jamming since the early days. And it's still very much does not feel real. It's very much like dream come true kind of stuff. And I'm just so jazzed that I get to deliver on the mission that we set out to do, but just at like a totally different scale, which is just very cool. Yeah.
So for our listeners out there that don't fully know, Philip was the CEO of NoCodeOps, and they had a product called Operator. They also had a fantastic community. And just this week, Zapier purchased them, purchased their community, some of their team members, and they will be joining Zapier now. Anything I left out there, Philip?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Some of us are going over to Zapier. So me, my co-founder, Brent, who's
right?
Just phenomenal. Brent Summers. Phenomenal technologist, product thinker, just
great bubbler,
all-around guy. And then Claudia, who will be still running the community and just getting a lot more resources to do so. So it's we just announced it on Monday. So y'all are the first people I'm talking about.
This is the public release.
We're so happy about that.
Do you have a title? Do you know what your title is?
Yeah. I do. So I'm going to be head of enterprise innovation. And so,
awesome. That sounds nice.
That's
a nice title. That's a nice title.
A little
you got to get that plaque on the wall right behind you.
But what it really, what it comes down to is all of us are joining Zapier to help think, look, Zapier literally wrote the playbook on PLG, programmatic SEO, to drive PLG, right? Like they're the best in the game at that. And now you all know the generation of folks that started using Zapier at their companies are starting to grow, mature, and bring this into new companies, or grow into bigger positions, or they're starting to bring Zapier to multiple departments in their companies. And with that comes this just need for upmarket and going enterprise. And we get to, me and Brent and Claudia and a bunch of people who are already on the team who launched the enterprise here at Zapier, get to really just spend our time thinking about how do we do this in a way that is not only beneficial to going up market, but also honor Zapier's roots in being like one of the easiest to use tools in the market, right? So it's a very exciting challenge that I'm just, really jazzed to be a part of.
So last time you came on, you gave all of our listeners the tutorial on maybe what not to do during fundraising, but kind of the how to fundraise. So now I'm going to ask, give us the how to sell.
There we go.
You got the bookends of this.
Well, I will
that's going to be the title. How to sell your company to Zapier.
Companies are not sold, they are bought, right? It is, which I firmly believe in. Look, my first time going through this process, right, on like this scale, and look, learned a ton, right? And I I'm just fresh off it, so I'll need time to think and like all the stuff. But I will say this: one of our investors who recently just sold his company and to Figma and joined Figma, um, gave me the best piece of advice, which was read this book called The Magic Box Paradigm. When these conversations really had started picking up, and I did, and it was just the best thing I read. So like, I'd love to just tell you all of the great ideas from that book and why they're so important. But if y'all are thinking about building a venture-backed company, you should be reading this book from day one. Because look, when you build something venture-backed, you're basically tying yourself to one of two things. You're saying this will eventually be acquired, or we will go public. And if 50% of that, right, it's going one or two ways, outcome is going to be, getting acquired, you should learn about that process really, really early on, because the acquisition process does not start at the beginning of an acquisition process, right? It starts years and years and years earlier, right? Like meeting Wade after his talk at South by Southwest years back and getting lunch with him, and him deciding to be one of our angel investors during our seed round.
Oh, cool.
And building partnerships with them since then, and releasing some of their products to the NoCodeOps community, doing webinars, and like it starts with all of that stuff, man. And so I think building those relationships as early as possible with anyone that could be a potential, acquirer is really great. And then, those conversations just naturally, organically happen, as opposed to feeling like forced or like backing you into a corner, or like,
He'll come back.
And look, we had some great optionality on the table, but like, man, Zapier just, gave us a really good way to continue our mission and, dream come true.
Yeah. So I didn't know he was an angel investor. I mean, that is fantastic for you to already have in that angel round secured a potential investor that's like part of the team and mission. Like, that's very strategic and very smart. And
Dude,
you're
yeah,
keeping them
a lot of people
updated
are
with
scared.
all the company updates.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people are scared to ask people they don't know or don't know that well for angel checks. But it's like, look, if you've raised with your startup like a pre-seed or seed round in a certain space, like anyone that would be a potential acquirer, or anyone that's just like a good, person that you've always kind of wanted to know in the space, who's like 3 or 4 steps ahead of you, there's no harm in asking, right? Like, I cold emailed, Emmanuel from Bubble who invested, and AJ from Card, right? Like, all these like amazing people, who, some of which I didn't even know, Arissa from Internal, like all these folks, and like Chris from Betty Blocks, like, just these are all people that I looked up to in the no-code space, and I was like, it'd be cool to have them on our team, and they were thrilled to join.
Yeah. You got to shoot your shot. You never know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid of, when you see a big company like Zapier going, oh, well, they're just going to build whatever I tell them I'm about to build. And most of the time, big companies are terrible at launching new products, which is kind of why acquisitions happen, right? They're like, we can't build new stuff ourselves, so we acquire a team and a product, and it's now done. But sometimes those are like the best ways to get involved. You're like, hey, I have this product you don't have. You should have it, but you don't. And so let's work together and serve your customers with the product we've built. And then eventually they're like, wow, this is like a real business. We could use your customers too.
Yeah, and I know that
you're
they're not acquiring your product, but still the knowledge and expertise that you guys have built over the last 3 years for a product like this, serving to these types of professionals in this type of vertical, like, it just makes so much sense. Like, you guys are trained operators and have been in the trenches for 3 years doing this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, look, Operator was in like the late stages of beta, right? Like, if we were staying independent, like,
it looked like a great product too.
Maybe a month or two away from like going, out of beta and into GA, right? But for those of you who don't know, Operator plugged into Zapier, Make, and Airtable, and did automatic dependency mapping, automatic documentation, granular error routing,
stuff that Zapier is going to need.
Yeah, all the good stuff, right? And so And look, like I've heard that fear, right? Like there's all those horror stories of like all the founders that went to Amazon and didn't read that one sentence in the MNDA that was like, oh, by the way, if we retain any knowledge from these conversations, we can just steal your stuff. And like, you know, and so I think you got to be careful with who you're working with on those fronts and who you're kind of showing the cards to and talking to, right? Like business is business at the end of the day. You got to be protected. But look, the cool thing about working with Wade and team since the beginning is like, they were always radically transparent with us, which is cool because like it's one of their I love when companies live their values. Like one of their values is like default transparency. And like Wade from day one was always transparent. He always said to us, there's some stuff that you're thinking about that we're going to build. There's some stuff that we're not going to build. Here's how we define those two things. But we believe that something like Operator needs to exist for all of this to keep going to the next level.
Yeah,
and was just like a fan of that mission. And so we much more treated Zapier like a collaborator on this stuff. And look, we built on top of an API that like didn't exist, and like we needed their permission to do that. And so we were like really tight with them on that front.
Yeah.
And look, I think that showing your work and showing your thinking to like the goal wasn't like, oh, let's just get bought by Zapier and show them all the stuff. The goal was like, really, we want to build this thing. We know in order to build this thing, we need buy-in from you guys. Let us show you that we're not just a bunch of people just like messing around, that we're really serious about this thing. We really care. And let us show your thinking on this front to get to that next level of partnership so that we can serve our customers. And then it ended up going into acquisition talks, but that wasn't the initial intent.
Yeah, I mean, and since he was an angel investor, he's seen that the last 3 years you've been hustling, you've stayed true to your word, you've been consistent, you've delivered on it, and it's like a 3-year interview. I mean, how could they not buy you at that point? I mean, you're, it's just a great, smart move for both parties. It's nice to know that, I think last month I met with my local chamber of commerce and I presented Zapier to all of the professionals that worked at that whole chamber, and no one knew what it was. And I was like, how do you not know what this is? I figured all of you would already be
everyone in the
this.
world should know what Zapier is.
Yeah, everyone should be using this.
It's
and then
so
they're like,
common in our world. It's like, wait, you don't know what Toyota is?
We just live in a bubble of people who know Zapier.
Right. So I quickly showed them like 2 or 3 different Zaps and they were mind blown. And then that was that. Right. But it was just like, there's so much opportunity still out there for professionals and businesses of all spaces. But I think the problem that you guys are solving remains true is, okay, it's great for a hobbyist, but once you start to have business operational systems running, you need to make sure that they stay running, that you're alerted if there's anything going wrong, documentation to inform team members across, stakeholders, all that kind of stuff. You need all those kind of things to get, corporate buy-in, bigger team buy-in, and you know that. And so who better to help build that division?
It's like literally, look, and this is building a company community first. I think look, I did a lot of things, really poorly building a company. I did some things okay, and I did some things well, right? In kind of reflecting on all of the things. And I think going community first was a big win because it got us close to all of those
and
people.
Hiring Claudia.
Oh, well, that doesn't even count as a win. That just counts as like miracle sauce, right? Everyone who's ever interacted with Claudia for 30 seconds is like, oh, she's on a different level.
Yeah.
And literally the reason our community went from like 0 to 1,500 and, just
what became an asset.
Miracle worker. So like the thing is with all the people that like we did customer interviews with and that we learned from the community, right, is that the story of NoCode is, and especially like when it comes to the integration iPaaS side, like Zapier, is someone uses it to solve a small thing at a company, a process solution that doesn't exist, right? Like maybe you're on the SaaS site, right? Like
that's how it started with me.
Like our automation thing doesn't do this, use Zapier for this. And they're like, oh, great. And that's how they learn about it. They solve one or two things. And then just like your chamber of commerce, someone gets that aha moment. We're like, hold on.
Yeah.
What else?
More.
Yeah.
And then they do it. And then all of a sudden they're showing other people or other people are doing it. And that's like when Zapier is like phenomenal, right?
That's how you know you've got product market fit. That's
Yeah.
all.
Expanding like crazy.
Everyone's sharing and
People
sharing.
love it. It's doing all these things. But what ends up inevitably happening is you start building more complex things with it, or more teams get involved, or more parties get involved.
Or more important tasks are done with it.
100%. You're moving to like critical workflows or things that have to do with like
Yeah.
things that will affect customer experience or internal payroll or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that can't go down. They, if someone messes up a variable, it can mess up an entire experience, right? Whatever. And so, that's when you get to this point where it's like, all right, we have like a few hundred apps that like now we have to maintain and document, and you realize that it's code, like it needs all of these, it needs a full life cycle of development, and it needs updating and monitoring and all of these things. And like that's one level, and we saw a lot of our operator customers get to that level where they're like, we are prosumers of Zapier. We have like 500, 1,000. We had one customer, 8,000 zaps, different zaps, not runs, right? And so there's that level, but then
you gotta
there's
be building like 10 zaps a day for like 2 years to get there. It's more than that. It's nuts.
10 zaps a day for 2 years is not 8,000 zaps.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They have like this programmatic thing that would like help them build zaps automatically for like different clients. So like,
wow.
It was crazy. But like, there's not only that, there's then the next level, right? And like that's where Operator really started being effective for folks, and like the thinking that we're going to bring from Operator into the kind of observability side of Zapier is like, how do you continue? And they've already started to do this with like the enterprise stuff, with projects, with Canvas, right? Like, how do you make documentation easier? How do you make it easier to like have a lot of zaps and not pull out your hair, and keep everything on Zapier? But then there's the next level of like, all right, now you want to start competing against like enterprise iPaaS tools like Workato and Tray, and like those tools aren't bought bottoms up, right? Those tools are bought top down. And like, how do you think about that sale, and like how do you work with that? And Zapier Enterprise has also started to think about that. And like, the more people that have access to this technology, I think the better the world of outcomes is for customers and companies. And so like, that's just a fun problem.
We're super excited about it because Zapier is one of the people that we need to expand the no-code movement generally, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're one of the few people that have the money to really get out there and tell a lot of people that no-code and all this kind of stuff exists. And so we will, pedal to the metal, baby. Let's go. Let's keep pushing it. Yeah.
Get better tools. More people use it because the tooling is better. More people using it means it fiddles out through all more. Everyone changes jobs. They bring Zapier with them. More people use it. More people use no-code in general.
And that's that whole generation of operations people that I was talking about, right? Like, you have all these people that are switching jobs or going to new places, or building even. My Alexa's talking to me.
It's congratulating you.
Thank you.
Your bank delivery will be arriving tomorrow at.
What I was saying is to rewind and cut, right? That whole generation of no coders that we were talking about, that and it's like this new phrase that I'm starting to say more and more, is like the accidental no coder, right? Like you never meant to do this stuff, but all of a sudden you were the person doing this thing, and now you built your whole career around these tools. It's like they're all growing up in their own professions. They're all growing up in their own careers. They're going to new companies, and the word is spreading fast. And these tools are being trusted for more and more and more things. Like, I just talked to someone that is in the middle of building a $15 million ARR business on Google Sheets and Tableau, right? And now they're thinking about switching to Glide.
There you go.
And so, like, we're just going to keep seeing more and more of a need for this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, every business needs more automations, more efficiencies, and with AI incorporated, Zapier is a very easy way to start integrating AI into everything, their chatbots, all this kind of stuff. And so, it seems like a slam dunk. I'm super happy.
I'm jazzed, man. And like the AI stuff just makes it even more exciting. Talk about a company that just like took the ball and ran with it on the AI front, and was just like, you know what we're really good at Zapier? We're good at taking complicated, hard to use technology and giving it the best human interface possible. And they did that with AI in multiple capacities, and are continuing to do it. And it's like so cool to watch.
plus a remote office, you don't have to move, and paid time off now. You could take a vacation. How
Yeah,
great
Yeah.
is that?
yeah,
Are
yeah.
you going to take a vacation? Are you going to
I am. Yes, I
are you
don't.
going to Disneyland? Yeah.
Uh,
Super Bowl.
fun fact: me and my co-founder are big Disney fans. I don't think you can see it on this camera. I literally have a Hollywood Tower Terror scale
Okay.
replica behind me.
Wow.
Big fan. At some
Me
point,
too.
we'll do Disney together.
Yeah.
But the first thing is, I'm going to take some time to just breathe. Right, just
Yeah.
like a big kind of. You don't get these moments often.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend a little bit of time in the Bay Area with my co-founder and just kind of like breathe out, debrief, like put some more thoughts together because he's been doing a lot of the enterprise stuff on the product side. And then I'm going to take a few days to do like a cool wellness retreat at this place called The Ranch in Hudson Valley, where it's like meditation and yoga and hike. I wanted to try something a bit different. Just like take some time to just like refresh and restart and like come to Zapier like fully present, ready to like start the new thing. Because like, look, I tweeted about this the other day. Like, I've been running my own thing here, right, with a co-founder, and like, I have had no manager or boss, right, besides like investors, really, for the past like 3.5 years, and so I want to just come in and like rethink, like, okay, there's some benefits to coming in as a founder and entrepreneur in terms of like being scrappy and moving fast, and like push, but like there's some parts of that work well in a large organization. There's some parts that don't. And like, I want to, go with the flow there while making positive progress and not take for granted the fact that like they've been at it way longer than me as a company. They've been at it like 13 years or whatever. Right. So it's like, they know a lot of stuff too. And like, I want to go and learn before, so yeah, I just want to come in as fresh as possible.
Can I ask you a different question? Because I've asked this question from a couple of people. So I sold my company end of 21 at my aunt's house in Canada. DocuSign came in. I hit the button, and surprisingly, balloons and confetti did not shoot out of my computer.
No, it doesn't happen.
So describe that moment. What, like, okay, so you're like, great, we're gonna sell this thing. Where are you? What happened? You hit it, and does anyone around you even notice what's going on?
I was right here in the office, right where I'm sitting right now. I thought there would be a cool DocuSign moment. We were like, right? That didn't even happen.
Okay. No mariachi band or anything.
Yeah, I guess it's not the cool way to do things anymore with lawyers. The new cool thing to do when you have 500 pages of acquisition binder with a larger company is you sign everything and then they sign everything and then you release the signature.
Then they're released. Yeah.
Email thread. And the funny thing is, like, Brent and I've never done this on this scale before. So we're like, okay to release. And they're like, all right, thanks. And we're
That's it.
And we email them back. Like, wait, does this mean that like we're closed? They're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that same email. I sent that same email out like, so are we done?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, the money will arrive tomorrow.
Yeah, and then everything came through, and
great.
that was that. And look, me and Brent had just this kind of like, just this amazing moment with with each other. Like, I think other founders totally get this, but especially in the climate of like today's market and what the market's been for the past few years of just like, it's been a knife fight in B2B SaaS, right? So just to like take a moment, you don't get many of those in life, right? Where you just get to go, whoa. And
we just did
with
this thing.
Someone that's been with you through it, right? And me and him just took a moment to just be like, wow, we literally just did that. And like, just like took a moment to kind of soak it in. Told my co-founder I loved him, and that was that.
There you go. And then you go upstairs and tell your wife. Did you do that?
And then, so this is like my office / studio. It's like 10 minutes away, and I like did not want to call my wife on the phone to tell her that it was closed. So I drove home early and told her in person and gave her like the biggest hug. And then we took the little kiddos out for ice cream, and it was wonderful.
Nice. Yeah.
Daddy hat acquisition. My daughter thinks it's the funniest thing whenever I talk about Wade, though, because she thinks Wade from Elemental. So she thinks like Wade's this guy made of water from a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, Daddy works for the water guy now.
That's so funny.
That's so cute. And yeah, they have no idea. And you know what's better like that?
Yeah. All good. All
Yeah.
good.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's so
Well,
cool.
Thank you for coming on, sharing your story with us.
Congratulations.
We're so
Thanks,
happy for you.
I
It's
want to
it's a
celebrate
great
with you
match.
guys too. Like,
Ditto.
I'll tell you, and I wish like it didn't take big moments and milestones like this to do this, but I guess it's just like naturally what brings stuff out. But like for 3-4 days, right, or whatever it is, like 4 days of just like everyone I've ever worked with, just one-on-one calling, texting, reaching out, just being like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So happy for you. But, you know, I haven't really talked to you in a while, but I've been watching your journey from afar. Like, you know, I wish we would celebrate each other more like that. So if anyone listening, like if you like have any entrepreneurs or founders or businesses in your life that like they haven't hit maybe some huge milestone or huge thing, where just reach out to them and tell them that like you're watching, you've seen their stuff, and you're really proud of them.
Yeah.
Like it'll
Yeah,
go.
because not everyone gets to where you go, and then there's a lot of yeah.
Right. And sometimes they do, and it's not public, or like you're not venture backed, so you don't get all the things, or like or you hit a big milestone, like you hit a new revenue milestone, but no one really knows about it. So just like tell a founder you love them. You know what I mean? You're proud.
All right. Let it be known that July 18th is Founder Love You Day.
There you go.
That is now Founder Appreciation Day. Sorry, let's call it that instead. Founder Appreciation Day, July 18th. Let it be started here.
You know, we recently brought on Regina. What's her last name, David?
Jarbeau.
And she's a founder coach, executive leader.
Formerly
what's up?
She was formerly on deck.
Yes, formerly on deck, and then worked from some others after that. Yeah. Anyways, we brought her on, and we're exploring the idea of having like a founders hotline with her, where founders just call in and on the show just talk through, and we can help them out, because founders got some stuff going on. It's hard job.
100%.
Yeah.
But I don't look like this because everything is going well at all three
startups. Come from just chilling, right? But I also wouldn't have it any other way, and I chose it, right? Luxury of choosing it.
I heard. I don't know if you guys listened to My First Million at all. They were talking the other day. Jerry Seinfeld told the story. Basically, some comedian came to him and complained about how he's trying so hard, he can't get a break, he's like going to shows but not making any headway. And Jerry Seinfeld goes to him and goes like, what else would you be doing? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the hurry? You have an appointment or something? No, you would be going to the little club anyway, just like this is what you want to be doing. And this is what most founders are like. They're like, I just want to be swimming in the mud. I want to be making my own way. I want to be
every now and then you find something to stand on, and that's cool. But then it goes away, right? And then you're back to swimming in the mud, right? And that's cool. I like it.
Yeah. Exactly. My goal is to never have a job for more than 6 months, and I'm doing a great job at that. You have a boss.
you know what? I've worked myself, and I've worked for other people. I enjoy both. It's just like it depends. It's like cycles of life. Like right in my cycle of life, this is really good for me. I'm interested to see how it is for you, Phil. But yeah, I've done it both.
I think the maturity of being able to admit that and not being like an absolutist there is really important, right? Like phase of life, where you're at, if you've just come off a huge run of one or the other, right? The grass is always greener, right?
Yeah.
And I think just being open to that and being like, you know what, I am going to do this, or I am going to dive fully into this and commit to this, whether it's being an entrepreneur, partnering up with somebody, being a solopreneur, being bootstrapped, being VC backed, joining a company, like, seasons, right? Like life's made up of tons of them, right? And nothing's permanent anyway. So.
Yeah, that's fair. I should say never say never. Maybe I'll have a job. Who knows?
Who knows?
If someone hires you, David, they'd be lucky to get you. You're a catch.
I would agree.
And you're same thing for you, Phil.
I'm a real catch guy.
Zapier caught 3 catches in their net with you 3. They're very lucky to have all of you guys, Brent, you, and Claudia. You guys are going to do great over there. We love to have follow ambassadors inside these orgs pushing it. I'm over at Software, you're in Zapier. You got all these, motivators. Keep going. It's great to see.
I love
Also,
it. Let's keep
seeing our
pushing the
friends
whole
win.
industry and making dreams, man.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
Let us
Thank
know
you
how
for-
we can help.
Yeah.
Always around.
Back at you.
Thank
Yep.
you for coming on the show, sharing your news with us and everyone else. We wish you a healthy, great next couple of transition period.